Through spaces and places, mountains and towns, not everyone notices that there's history all around. Not everyone looks, most people are blind. But if you stop and stare, what would you find? This is what I found looking in the spaces and places of my hometown. My name is Scott Linden, and I am a volunteer at the Whedon Home, which is located in Sweetwater, and I'm the director of the Living History Program. The first human habitation in the Shoals area has been dated back to 12,500 years ago. And the first group of people that came through were hunters and gatherers, and they were known as Paleo Indians. The second group of people that came through were known as mound builders, and they were mostly gatherers. They built a temple mound right on the banks of the Tennessee River that we call the Indian Mound.
I'm Charles Moore. I'm the city archaeologist for Florence, Alabama, and work pretty closely with the Indian Mound Museum here in Florence. There may have been a chief's house or a medicine man's house up on top of this mound. It is a flat top mound and about 42 to 43 feet in height and about 310 feet is the greatest distance around the base. But they carried the dirt for this mound in baskets in order to build it, and it must have taken a long, long time. This being a ceremonial mound, there were activities here like Indian ceremonies like the green corn ceremony and perhaps some marriages and funerals for high-ranking Indian chiefs and officials. We have a museum here at the base of the mound, and it's owned and operated by the city of Florence, and have a lot of activities here, and several thousand visitors coming in every year.
The movement of time and peoples make learning about history even more important. Technology improves, politics evolve, conflicts intensify between North and South, which brings me to another important time and place in our history. There is a place whose spaces were used before, during, and after the Civil War. Built in the early 1800s, it was a stagecoach stop, tavern, and inn. During the war, it served as a hospital where the volunteers caring for the wounded made no distinction between Union and Confederate soldiers.
This is one of the oldest houses in Florence, and at one time was a rather popular inn and stagecoach stopover because the street out in front, that was the old military road in those days, and that road was a main thoroughfare connecting Nashville, Tennessee, over to the Natchez Trace and on down to New Orleans. During the time the war between the states was going on, this house was a very significant hospital. In fact, there were wounded men treated here who had been wounded as far north of here as Franklin, Tennessee.
The Cherokee natives called the waters Succotaneah, which translates to Sweetwater. One of the officers that saw the remarkable properties of this spring that turns into a pretty good-sized creek was General John Brom. General Brom started the structure now known as Sweetwater. He was not able to finish it, however. On the way back from Mississippi on a business trip, he contracted pneumonia and quickly died. His daughter, however, married into the Patton family, and out of this union would come the empire we know as Sweetwater. The spaces of the last place I want to share with you were used to inspire, motivate, educate, and enlighten millions all over the world. It is a place where a young girl, almost 7 years old, began to understand the world around her. Ivy Green is the birthplace of Helen Keller, who was born June 27, 1880, in Tuscumbia, Alabama. At the age of 19 months, she suddenly lost her hearing and sight. But on a March day in 1887, she experienced her own miracle that would change her life and the lives of everyone around her. There are many other spaces and places I wish I had time to share with you. However, time is limited. Remember, there are a lot of history around you. Some history is still underground. It is found in caves, underwater, or maybe in Grandma's attic, still waiting to be discovered. Some history is in plain sight, just waiting to be noticed and researched. Find the history in your town and share what you discover.